waitresses at Dan Montgomery's, circa the 1950s. That time, I entered the University of Buffalo, and it was the first school in the area to have a four-year program. At that time, all the nursing schools were 3 years. The university offered a four-year degree in nursing, and I was one of 2 black students that entered. Graduated in 1955. In my second year while at UB, I needed to work because I had a child to raise, and I had moved back home with my parents. And I started to work at Dan Montgomery's. I can't remember how I learned about dance, although everybody knew about it in the black community, both for work as waitresses and to go for dinner. It was kind of the place to go. And so I went down and was interviewed and hired as a head check girl. That was about 1952. And I worked as a head check girl for several months, I guess, and it was very lonely work. It was out in the front. There was nobody out front except the folks who came in. And then they just passed briefly through to go to the back, to the dining room. And occasionally, if the waitresses had a chance, they'd come out and talk with me. But it was very lonely work. And I guess you had your radio, and I had a chance to study a little bit. But I also asked to be a waitress. And shortly thereafter, I did become a waitress and on the floor.
My sister, Mickey, worked at Dan, and she was giving up the job, and I took her position there as a waitress.
Bernice was on the bar, and Herman was our manager. He worked the bar during the day.
Yes.
Bernice came on in the evenings.
Right.
And at that time, the steaks were $1.99.
Okay. Now that was for the whole dinner.
Yes.
That was included.
And they had fried chicken, and they also had lobster tail.
All of the people from Buffalo at one time or other, all of the people who lived here then, at one time or other came to dance because the steaks, they wanted the steaks and they wanted the lobsters, and all of the businessmen, our black businessmen and women came to, and our politicians all came to dance. That was a thing to do. Come to dance for steak and lobster. Oh, I can remember making the coleslaw. Oh, can I remember making the coleslaw? And you had to chop it up just so in the great big bowls, and it had to be put together just so. Oh yes, I can remember that.
I remember the ambience down there. The initial room, when you walked into the restaurant, wasn't particularly anything to get excited about. But then as you stepped into the next room, there was a piano there. They must have had a band in there at some time. And it was a mirrored room. There were beautiful, heavy mirrors all along the room. And I can't remember the floor, but they had heavy tables, heavy black wooden tables and chairs that were very beautiful. And then you walked into the next room where the waitresses stood at a table. We called it being up, who's up next. And then you could look down into the bar period, and the floor tiles in the bar area were lovely, and there was a lighted overhead ceiling, and to the right was a jukebox. And I remember the music at the time was very nice, and I always remember Peggy Lee singing Sansuji. It was just lovely. It was a nice ambiance. I enjoyed it. In the side room where patrons sat mostly until it filled up, I had a skylight, and so during the day hours it was very nicely lit. It was really a very pretty place.
I made my uniform. At that time, they was wearing the long skirt with the stiff underskirts.
We had to wear the hoop. I had a hoop skirt to put under my dress.
Okay, so you didn't have the starch slip.
It was, no, it was taffeta, but it had a hoop on it,
Okay.
which made it very easy because you didn't trip on the long dress.
The slip that she made, we starched so stiff with Argo cornstarch that it would stand up. You could just step right out of it and put it in the corner until you stepped into it again. It was so stiff. And it rustled as you walked and made a lot of noise, and that was, I guess, very sexy at the time. The wages weren't wonderful at best, but for some reason, I remember being paid $2.78 a night for the pay.
My pay came to about $19.60 a week. And I think $2 a night tip was added in. So
They gave you $2.
we had to add that in because that's what we had to report. At that time, that was the law for reporting tips. You had to report a minimum of $2 a night. That's, and that was added into my pay. I didn't actually, well, I got it too in a way, but the tips were very good.
During that time, $1 was a very good tip. Then, if you got $5, you felt like you were rich. Sometimes we would have large parties, and so I have gotten as much as $10 for a real big party, and that was really great.
A lot of money.
But that wasn't very often.
I've had I've had men to come in, gentlemen to come in, bus drivers, truck drivers, and get a cup of coffee, and I'd get $1, $5, and it would you just floor you almost.
What was a good tip?
A good tip was $3, but depended on the party, and if you got $2, $3, $4, $5 from a party, that was great, and of course, we knew we depended on those tips, so you tried to be as nice as you could possibly be and as sweet. Of course, but I enjoy people, and I talk a lot, and I enjoy talking to people and getting into their business, really, so to speak, when you're talking with them, and so therefore it wasn't hard to be friendly and nice. Yeah. Like my mother used to say, it doesn't cost you anything to be nice.
Some people tip $2 and some $1. I had one, nobody wanted to wait on them, but I did. They were a real nice couple, and they only gave a quarter.
Nobody wanted to wait on.
And I would always take them because we got to be great friends, and I said, I'll take them. Nobody wanted them. We had to take turns. And if you had we all had our people who favored one of us, We all had our own base of customers. And so what would happen, they would go to the bar and drink until it was our turn, then we'd go tell them, then they'd be seated, and then you would take their food order.
Now remember, they used to say, "Who's up?" Or you
That's
say,
right.
"I'm up."
Yeah,
I'm up.
that's it. That's it. Who's up?
Yeah.
And you say, I'm up.
Standing by that table.
Yeah, we had to stand by that table as long as we had a customer. If they stayed there and made love all night long, we had to stay.
You had to have your own bank, and you paid for anything that you ordered. A full dinner, might be a party of 10. You'd have to pay for that with your own money. And then if you would happen to run out of the amount of money you had, then they would give you a little bank.
Okay.
And you used their money, but you gave it back to them after you received your money for the table.
They requested that we start out with $50, no less. And but then you got used to bringing in $100 because you would need it. And if you ran because we had to pay for everything that was ordered before the people paid.
Okay.
And so we had to pay. Then when they paid us, whatever we got, including tips, was ours.
They explained to me in the beginning I was dependent upon my tips, and however I did was was my problem. I started working there just before Mother's Day. And Mother's Day, at that time, people from Toronto and Canada came to Buffalo. Buffalo was the center, the hub. Toronto is the center hub now. But Buffalo was, and they all came from Canada. And I had a big party of people from Canada. It was Mother's Day. And I won't forget this as long as I live. I had paid all my money for the food and had served them and everything, but we were so busy and so crowded, I couldn't keep watch as like I should have. I learned a lesson. I learned to watch my clients then, my patrons. I learned to watch them, but that was a big lesson because they owed me such it was a large party, and they owed me so much money, and they walked out on me. And I lost all that money. And of course, you didn't get paid back for it. I had to make it up, try to make it up in other ways, but I lost that day, and I worked hard that day. But I learned a lesson that day.
Did you have walkouts at all? Do you remember?
I had one in Florence, God bless her soul. Florence ran and grabbed it for me, because nobody got away with Florence. No, Florence is very good at that.
You don't remember her last name?
I don't remember Florence's last name.
Ran a big walkout. I feel so sorry for her.
And she, when you say she walked, what happened? Tell me about that.
She grabbed them, she ran right up to him and grabbed him back into the place.
How far had he gotten out?
He had gotten past the door. And she grabbed
Outside?
Yes,
Down the step?
not down the step,
Okay,
but through
to
the door. She
With a
grabbed
handshake.
him back in there and he paid.
Did he?
Yes, she did. Thank God for Florence, because other than that he would have walked. But that was the only attempt I ever had for a walkout.
In August of 1954, you applied at Dan's.
Yes.
Your friend took you down. And what did you apply for?
Waitress.
Okay. And when you went for the interview, what happened?
At that time, he had no openings,
Okay.
and the only thing he had was a salad for a salad girl.
Okay.
And I took that because I wanted to go to work. I stayed there, and I was never able to get on the floor. Julia Majors and Faye Lane were friends of mine, and they kept trying to get me on the floor. So finally, Faye came back and told me that Herman said I was too dark to be on the floor based on his clientele. They had an opening they had a hotel in kind of like a bar, showed all the cook at the hotel. So they had an opening there, and he said, well, I put you out there and you'll be able to almost like manage that, and you'll be on your own, and so then I took that job.
So there was a hotel, and then was there a dining room or?
No, just like a short order.
Okay.
You can get sandwiches, hot dogs.
So it was just kind of a bar?
Right, it was right in the front of the place, to the side of the counter,
Oh,
or the
okay.
desk, or whatever you want to call it. The clients would come in and have them sign in, and to give them the fare of what the rooms were renting for.
Right.
And then that was basically it. It was okay, pretty good, yeah. It wasn't bad. You got to know people and meet people when they come in, so you got to know faces. Yeah.
Did Herman come down often every day?
No, he came about 3 times a week, 2 times, something like that, twice a week to bring supplies and things we needed. Or we could always call him if we needed him.
Interesting. You weren't fair enough to be on the floor, but you could run the other place down there by yourself.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I said too. But it was a hotel, and people were in and out.
Okay.
It wasn't really, it was kind of like a flop house type hotel.
Transient hotel.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
exactly what it was.
I think the ships came in on either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. There were boats coming in, lake boats from Chicago, from Cleveland, and Detroit. And when they came in on those evenings, the place was absolutely swamped. So it was a very busy evening, and it was usually a very good tip evening. I enjoyed my time down there, short though it was. It was kind of a highlight. It was a short stay. I enjoyed the people I worked with. It was kind of a nice adventure for the time. And I look fondly back at the time that I spent there, and am very pleased that I was able to locate other waitresses and people who worked at Dan Montgomery's.
take a sentimental journey to renew old memories. Got my path and got my reservation.
We are the waitresses at Dan Montgomery's.